Greetings and welcome back to Rob's Game Group, or Rob of RGG. And today we don't have a mission report from the Chaos Earth game because it's still on hold this week and next week because of players. Well, this week we had a sick player, and next week we have another player out of town on vacation. So we were looking for something to do to tide us over. And since I've been so into DCC lately, I decided, you know what, I'll run a DCC game. And talked to my buddy Jason. He thought it was a great idea, so we decided to run a two-shot, basically, DCC game. Most of my players have never played it before. In fact, I don't think any of my players have played it before. So we ran a zero-level funnel last night, and next week we will play a first-level adventure with the same or with the characters that survived. Now, I'm somebody in one of the comments on one of the other posts, one of the other videos, had made the comment that a funnel is probably not the best way to introduce people to DCC, and because it doesn't really showcase some of the strong points of the system, like the magic system or the things the fighter can do or the thief can do, and they're absolutely right. It doesn't showcase that. But I had the opportunity here to play the zero level funnel and then transfer it into a first level game so they will get to level up to level 1 and pick a class and get to see some of how magic works and so on and so forth. So that I feel is a good way to do it, especially playing with my home group who's going to get a chance to play much more DCC in the future. And after last night, I'm sure they're going to want to, because we had an absolute blast. It was a lot of fun. We played the starter adventure, The Portal Under the Stars, which comes in the quick starts. It comes in the main rule book. So if you have not played The Portal Under the Stars and you intend to play it as a funnel, then I encourage you to not watch this video because it's going to be full of spoilers about what's in the Portal Under the Stars. If you just don't care or you've already played it before, then a lot of this you're going to get and realize mistakes that were made. So each player was given a character sheet like this where they made 4 zero-level characters, and we went through the full process of making the characters, and we ended up with all kinds of stuff. Just, hunters, orphans, slaves, soldiers, minstrels, just a bunch of different characters. We had 20 characters in all because we had 5 players. So we went into this funnel with 20 characters, and I think about half of them made it out. So I'm going to, again, state right here, spoilers. So if you don't want to have the adventure spoiled for you, don't watch any further. Without any further ado, we're going to jump into what they did as they went through it, and I'll at the end I'll explain what they could have done differently. But basically, it starts out with you're a bunch of peasants who have been working in the fields, slaving away, and you're poor, and your life sucks, and you're tired of this life. And you know a guy named Old Man Roberts, and at the end of the day, or end of the winter, he's about to die. And on his deathbed, he starts telling you how, like some 50 winters past, the stars were in a certain alignment, and there's a set of old ruined stones that kind of lean on top of each other and form a portal. And this one star that hasn't been seen in 50 years is in the sky, and when its light shines on the portal, it opens. There's a portal through these rocks that you can go to. It's a portal under the stars, and there are all kind of untold riches in there, but there's also dangers, and he was afraid to take the leap when he was young, and now on his deathbed wishes he had. So the party finds themselves standing in front of this portal, and as the star starts to shine on the portal, it opens up and shows them a hallway leading to another door. You can only access it from one side. The other side of the portal didn't show anything. So they begin to go in, and this hallway leads straight to a door that has a bunch of gems and stuff encrusted on it, and they are all in a certain alignment. And one of our beefier characters tries to force the door open. It's locked, and thank goodness for him, he didn't force the door open, because if he had, he would have set off the trap that would have pretty much killed his character. One of the other characters made an intelligence check, which allowed him to realize that these symbols on the door were a constellation pattern, that if they waited a certain amount of time, looking back the way they came, the stars would line up in a couple of hours. So they waited around a couple of hours until they did line up, and when they did, the door swung open and they could enter. So hence the party of 20 adventurers, or 20 peasants, entered the dungeon for the first time. When they did, they came to a room that had a door straight across from them, and then had 4 statues, 2 on each side of the door, of these iron men who were standing there with spears in a throwing position. And as soon as the party entered, they chucked their spears at them, instantly killing one of the peasants and wounding one of the other ones. So we had one guy die before they ever got started, really. And the statues don't do anything else after that. They did pick up the spears and use them. They entered from room 2 into room 3, which is a much larger room, and has this big 30-foot statue of this barbarian-looking guy who has his finger outstretched at the door towards them. And when the party breaks up into different groups moving around the room, I rolled randomly for which group he was tracking, but he just starts, he swivels, and he's tracking certain groups through there. And the adventure tells you if they try to go through any of the exits, including the one they just came through to get in the room, he starts shooting this gout of flame at them, and ended up burning another one to death. I think I got 2 of them at that point, but burned another one to death as they were trying to open different doors. Haley's group ran to the door at the far end, opened it, and saw this big pool room with all these crystalline figures, humanoid figures walking around in there, shambling around in there, and she just shut the door. Jay and his guys opened the door to room 5, which is the burial chamber, and he saw the bones of the skeletons that were all in piles in the little alcoves in there start rattling and shaking around, and he shut that door and was like, nope. So they all end up getting blasted 2 or 3 times, but they run across to the door leading to room 4, which is a room with just a throne in it, and they go in there, and there's still like 18 of them at this point. But they go in, and that's when, I can't even remember what his name is, Sazerath the snake or whatever, the giant snake with the demon horn, attacks them. So we got into our first combat. The snake ended up taking out one of them, I think. And then they did end up beating the snake down. Chris had some amazing crit rolls. He critted like 3 times in a row. And they ended up beating the snake down and killing him. And then the snake's body dissipates and it just leaves the horn behind. Which my wife Tina, her character, scoops up in this empty box that she had gotten. And they, in that room are all these clay tablets on the walls, and they kind of tell the story of how this ancient alien race had come to the planet eons ago and bestowed technology or magic upon this barbarian tribe, and they had used it to conquer lands and this, that, and the other. And there's this warlord or war wizard who's leading everything, and basically what he has done is he has used their technology to put his body in stasis and then send his spirit out into the cosmos to venture out and explore things. But his trip got cut short. He was never able to come back to his body, so now he's stuck out there. So they end up running across the hall to room number 5, the burial chamber, because they decide they want to just clear everything as they go. They get in there, and it tells you in there how you have the 7 alcoves with skeleton bones in them, but they've been there for so long that they can no longer form a full skeleton to a fight, so they're just rattling around on the ground, and the skulls are snapping at everybody, but they can't really do anything. So, and this is important later. So Jay takes his 10-foot pole and he starts pushing all the skulls into one pile, just to get them away from them. And they find some old rusty weapons in there, like a rusty battle axe and stuff, and I think some rusty chainmail or something. But it's all rusted up armor, but it's better than what they have as peasants. So they don all of this, and then they head back out, and they venture up into room 6, not knowing that they only had one more gout of flame coming from the statue, because he was on. I was doing a countdown behind the screen. He had one round left, and he would have been out of fuel. But they get into room 6, which is the pool room, and that is where they encounter the crystalline figures. And the crystalline figures come up to them, and at first they're kind of scared, but then they realize that they're not being attacked. These things are just wanting to be close to the light, because they all have light sources. So they leave a candle burning and cut everything else down, and the only other light in the room is there is some kind of light illuminating the big pool in the middle of the room. And as they move through, they see that there are just tons and tons of these crystals laid out in the bottom of this 3-foot pool, and they bypass right on by it. They just keep going, which will be important later. So there's a door at the end of the room. They get there, and then it opens up into a stairwell, a spiral staircase, which leads into room 7, which is this long, narrow room that has tables, and the tables basically have landscapes and buildings and stuff on them, and miniature clay figures for armies spread out all over the place, and like 4 of them are made of solid silver. They snag those, and it has one door at the end of the room. They go to that door, and it opens up into this massive room. This kind of 3 levels. At ground level, all the way across, there are 7 generals, clay statue generals that are full size. On a dais above them, there's a warlord, clay warlord, sitting on a throne. He has this big crystal, glowing crystal at the top of sitting on the top of the throne. And then in a pit in the middle of the room, there's like 70 warriors. Now, your players are not meant to fight 70 warriors. You're peasants. Like, there's no way they would survive this battle. They don't see any other way out of the room at that point other than the door they came in. So as they're entering the room, the clay warlord raises his hand and points at his generals, and all of the guys in the pit, the 70 soldiers in the pit, they all take a stomping step forward as they start to move towards the raised platform and crawl up to ground level in the room. To which Chris runs in and ends up in combat with. The girls, Tina and Haley, take their characters and run around the sides of the room. And as Chris is fighting for his life and losing, because I think he ended up with 1 character left, because his guy got gutted right there by these clay statues as they came up and started attacking. Jason and Rich, both of their groups of characters, turned tail and ran, and were headed back to the stairway as these things were coming through the door into Area 7, the room where all the tables with miniatures were, and trying to get to them. And they were just like, yep, screw it, I'm out. And they booked it. In the meantime, they ended up, the girls ran up and ended up beating on the warlord, which Haley got several good hits off of. And he got him down to like 1 hit point. She's like tearing him up. And Tina literally finishes this guy off with her 1 character with the worst weapon in the game. She had a quill. And she hit him for 1 point, which is all he had left. When the warlord died and collapsed into his chair, all of the other clay statues just stopped and went inert again. They were just... And of course, I'm ragging the guys about running and the girls being the ones who, uh, solve the issue and save the day. And of course, Jay and Rich, they come back down from Route 7. They're like, oh, yeah, we cleared out that hallway back there when all they were doing was running for their lives. They end up going in and searching the room and finding a secret door in the room, which leads to the treasure vault, basically. And there's a body in the treasure vault that's preserved, and it's on this slab and has a depression in it. And Tina puts the crystal ball thing from the throne in the depression, and she can then see into the ether and see the ancient war wizard floating around out there. And then he, with a goat face, he turns to her and tells her that he's been waiting on someone to replace the warlord for all this time, and that if she's to take wood from a dryad tree and put it in the bronze brazier and burn it, then she'll be blessed and he'll be rewarded, and so on and so forth. And she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. But they had a lot of other stuff they found in there. They found half of the Rod of Ruleship, which is this demon head rod. They got half of it. They got a bunch of weapons to start their adventuring career out: long swords, long bows, maces, spears, battle axes, a set of scale mail, and a tome written in some ancient language that is not known to modern man. But, maybe someone who becomes a wizard will spend some time with it and learn a spell from it. And that's where we ended at, with them then choosing their surviving characters who they wanted to level up next week to level 1, because that's when you get to pick a class in DCC. So we have Rich, who is leveling up to a cleric, has one of his characters leveling up to a cleric. Jason has his halfling leveling up to a halfling. So kind of their thief character. And then we have, Chris, one of his characters, his squire, is going to level up to a warrior. And one of Tina's characters is leveling up to the wizard. So they have a pretty good mix. Haley left her characters here because she's not going to be here next week. She's going to be out of town on vacation. So we have her characters to choose from. If somebody else, like if Wes makes it next week, he can pick one of the characters that they have extra here to level up to level 1 for their adventuring party. And then I went back and told them about some of the things that they could have done to make this a little easier. When they were in the room with the statue shooting the fire, they could have taken the doors off of their previous rooms and used them as shields. Not that big a deal. We did lose a couple of characters there, but more importantly, in the burial chamber where the 7 skeletons were, those skulls, if they had destroyed those skulls, they were linked to the 7 clay generals down in Area 8, and it would have destroyed them immediately. So they wouldn't have been there to deal with. The pool in the room above 8, if they had taken the time to go in there and get the gemstones out of the pool, each one they took out caused the pool to leak a little more, and after they get a certain amount of them out, not only are they gaining treasure, but the pool begins to really drain into Area 8. It would have filled the area with the 70 warriors and caused them to basically turn to slush. So when they got to Area 8, hypothetically, there wouldn't have been anything to deal with except the warlord. But not my crew. My crew went balls to the wall. They went all in, trying to take everything head on. And honestly, I'm amazed that any of them survived. But they did. So we have some characters to level up to level 1. And I have a short level 1 adventure that they are going to play through next week. So they'll get to experience some of the magic and some of the cool stuff the fighters can do and so on and so forth. Now, we had a blast. And they did realize after playing it that level 1 funnels are really meant more for solving puzzles, not necessarily fighting. But we had a blast. Everybody loved it. There were so many laughs about the things that happened with these characters. I didn't know how everybody would respond to it. I was hoping they would like it, and they did. So that worked out really great. Everybody's looking forward to next week and playing the level 1 adventure, which I will save that video for next Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when I get a chance to put it up. But yeah, it was a blast. This was my first time running a DCC game, and I loved it, man. These adventures are written so good. The descriptions and flavor text and everything is really well thought out. There's a lot of, if your players do this, if your players do that, here's different ways they can handle it. Really, really good adventures. And if you have not, if you're going to run DCC and you're going to run a funnel, I highly recommend Portal Under the Stars. It's not very long. You can generally play through it in a couple of hours. And, you know, maybe a little more than that if you're making the characters. We played for about 3 hours. They spent about an hour making the characters and then a couple hours playing the adventure. And it's only 8 rooms, and it's not a lot of combat. In fact, I think the only thing you really had to fight would be the Warlord at the end and the Giant Snake, which they handled both of them very easily. But they had some really lucky dice rolls too. But yeah, again, if you want to just, this is a great one-shot. It's a good one-shot to do if you have a night where everybody can't make it and you just kind of want to showcase the system a little bit and have some fun with it. It's a blast to play this. Rolling up 0-level characters is hilarious because, you know, you got that guy's like, well, I got a 16 and a 15 and a 14 in my stats, and I got 1 hit point. You know, this guy, he falls down and he's dead. So I highly recommend Portal Under the Stars. It comes in the main book. It comes in the, I ran it out of the Quick Start Guide. So it's very easy to get your hands on. You can get the Quick Start Guide PDF for free off of their website, Goodman Games website. But yeah, check it out. Did your party do anything different? If you did, tell me in the description, or in the the comments below. And let me know what your party did differently. My party tends to go headlong into everything. So, but we had a great time with it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm super excited and looking forward to next week to seeing how they handle what's coming, and for them to get to experience magic and corruption and mutations and things like that. But yeah, it was my first time, and I see me running this a lot more. Everybody really liked the system. I really like the system, and if you like old school role playing, I think you'll like the system too. So if you haven't, give it a shot. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, give it a thumbs up, like, and all that. You can find links to my different pages and stuff in the description. If you'd like to help out the channel, my Amazon wish list is in there. And until next time, my friends, good gaming and good luck.